Good evening and welcome to the October 27th meeting of the Town Council. If you please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For announcements, the state general election will be held on Tuesday, November 8th from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. at your designated polling location. For more information about that, you can visit the town's website at merrimacknh.gov. The Merrimack Town Council would like to extend our deepest sympathies and sincerest sympathies to the family and friends of Phil Strait, who passed away on Tuesday, October 25th, at the age of 76. Phil was a member of the Army National Guard and as well worked and retired from the state of Iowa Soil Conservation Reclaiming Mines. Phil served as a state representative for the town of Merrimack for 2 terms and was a Merrimack Conservation Commission member for 6 years and a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment for over 8 years. Phil's quick-witted, dry sense of humor, authenticity, and sincerity was truly appreciated by everybody who knew him. He will truly be missed. And I'd like you to join me for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. I have upcoming town council meetings. There's no meeting on November 3rd, Thursday, November 3rd. There will be regular meetings on Thursday, November 17th, Thursday, December 1st, and Thursday, December 15th, all at 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton room. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The library will be holding their annual trunk or treat on Sunday, October 30th from 1 to 3 p.m. in the library's parking lot. All are welcome to attend. Thanks to the Friends of the Library group for sponsoring this event. Please park at Town Hall, as the church it will be unavailable for parking that day. The Merrimack Parks and Rec Department invites you to join them on Saturday, October 29th at Wasserman Park from 12 to 3 for the 30th annual Halloween party. This year's event will feature a wide variety of free games and crafts, along with return of the costume contest. For more details, visit the Parks and Rec website at Merrimack Parks with an S and rec.org or call 603-882-1046. The DEA's National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day is coming Saturday, October 29th, from 10 to 2 p.m. Drop off your expired unused prescription medications in the lobby of the police department. Please, no needles or liquids. National First Responders Day is October 28th, which is tomorrow. Please be sure to thank your community's first responders, public works employees, law enforcement, firefighters, and paramedics. The final household hazardous waste collection for 2022 season will be Saturday, November 5th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 25 Crown Street in Nashua. Excuse me. The town offices and the transfer station will be closed on Friday, November 11th in observation of Veterans Day. And finally, we'd like to invite the Merrimack residents to come to the wastewater treatment plant on November 4th for the groundbreaking ceremony of the new screenings building. The ceremony will be held from 10 a.m. to noon. The town applied and received a $2 million grant as part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, or ARPA. ARPA established funds for wastewater infrastructure projects and was instrumental in the town's ability to fund this construction of a new screening building. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thanks, Paul. Comments from the press and public? Seeing no one here. We have no recognitions, resignations, or retirements. So our first appointment is our annual review with the Town Center Committee. Per Merrimack Charter Article 6, Section 6, at least annually, there should be a review with the Town Center Committee. This agenda item is to highlight the committee's significant actions, current projects, anticipated actions, and to raise any concerns the council should know about or could act upon. This evening, we have Nelson. Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a little outline of what I'm going to talk about here. If you pass those down, please.
Excuse me, Nelson. Do you want to, Nancy?
Oh, yes, Nancy Harrington is excused this evening. Will be not be joining us. Thanks.
And there's one for Paul too, because Nancy isn't here. I only made 7. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nelson Disco. I am the chairman of the Merrimack Town Center Committee, and I'm here this evening to present you our annual report, which we have done for the past several years. We have some good news tonight. I'll save it till it comes up on the agenda. The Town Center Committee was formed in 2019 for in 2009, for the purpose of implementing recommendations that came out of the NRPC ITRAC study, which was charted by the town council to see what we're looking for, recommendations to improve the town center, make it more identifiable as a town center, and make it more user-friendly as a town center, and specifically to look into pedestrian access to the various businesses, parks, and schools that are in that district, and so that's the origin of our being here. The committee is charged to work with town officials, residents, businesses, and the conservation commissions. And our purpose was to coordinate development of a safe and walkable town center. The committee charge was amended in 2019 to add the media group from Merrimack as part of the committee. And this year, for the first time in a while, our committee meetings have been held in person here in the Matthew Thornton room. We were a little bit into COVID mandated Zoom meetings and things like that, but this year it's been all here. The current membership of the committee is myself, the chair, Bill Wilkes, Karen Freed, a citizen at large. Karen Freed is a library representative. Karen Contos is a citizen at large. Matt Cheffenel represents the SAU, the school district, and they are part of this committee. Bill Cummings is a citizen at large. Michael Redding also. Kyle Fox represents the DPW, and he's a member of our committee. And Nicholas LaValle, as I said, was just added last year, representing media services. And your very own Finley Rothaus is the town council representative to the committee. Good work, Finley. We meet probably, let's say 8 or 10 times a year, every 4 to 6 weeks in this room. The first thing I want to talk about tonight is the good news, as I mentioned, because this past period of waiting, we finally received a full go-ahead for the construction of the Sauhegan River Trail. The Sauhegan River Trail, as you may know, will make a pedestrian trail between Watson Park and the parking lot there, under Route 3 through an old sluice of the mill, and on up to Wildcat Falls on the north side of the Sauhegan River. It's a foot trail. It is a
multi-use trail, although it is not fully handicapped accessible. It's a walking trail. So but this has now been, the design for this has now been approved. The design was prepared by Quantum Construction for the town on a contract to the town. And this has now been approved by the New Hampshire DOT and the federal government. This is primarily a federal project, is 80% federal money. And there's various other sources of the monies, which I'm sure you're aware of. I didn't go into that today, but basically this design was finally approved. In its final version, or in the approved version right now, the trail will go, as I said, from Watson Park along a sidewalk under Route 3 through the old sluiceway, and then across a former wetland. It's no longer a wetland, but there's a meadow there now, which was at one time flooded by the dam when the dam was there. And one of our first jobs was to remove the dam. I didn't go into that, but that was a little while ago. But the passage of the trail through the former wetland is going to be on an elevated boardwalk that will go across the wetland, the former wetland itself, plus a small seasonal stream that runs through there, draining some of the land up in the business area that's to the north of it. So this is going to be a really nice addition to our town center. It's going to be, we're expecting, it's out for bid right now to contractors. And based on the design that was provided and approved, and hopefully the project will come in within its budget, and we can at that time proceed to maybe award a contract this calendar year, and maybe even do some of the former wetland work in that are on the trail. We can do that during the winter. That's a possibility, but I'm sure you'll all be made aware of that when it happens. And Kyle and his contractors have done an excellent job in pulling that all together. So if there's any questions on the Sauhegan River Trail and where we're going with it, I think it's been around long enough that that most people are aware of it. We're tired of talking of it. Oh, no further questions?
Nelson, quickly, the other end of the trail is going to Wildcat Falls, or?
Yes, it'll go to Wildcat Falls, and from there, there's a trail that leads on up to Courier Road.
Right.
There's a little bit of parking at the end of Courier Road. Sure you're aware of that.
Yep. Yep.
And that's so yes, it'll be one continuous trail
Okay.
all the way.
Great.
Yeah.
That's terrific. Thank you.
Yeah. So the next piece of good news that I have to report isn't really news because it's a little bit old. That's the construction of the Woodbury Street sidewalk. As you know, this past year, actually it was done in 2021, most of the construction was for a sidewalk on Woodbury Street leading from the high school to the town center area, to the commercial areas and in town center. This was completed late last fall and finished off with a little bit of landscaping this spring. It's now fully open and it is in use. I can testify to the fact that I've seen the kids actually use it. I was afraid they were going to walk in the road anyway, but not so. They seem to be using it, and that's a good thing because it is a dual-use roadway in that there's automobiles use it, and the high school, and gets out at. They don't separate the people with cars from the people who are on foot, so they all come down at once, and it's very helpful to have this extra safe passageway for them now. So those are our two big good news accomplishments for this year. In the area of public outreach, we've done, we've begun to do our booths, information booths. You know, prior to COVID, we set up at several different locations when there are large gatherings of people. This year, we set up at the Rotary Pancake Breakfast. We had it there with our maps and so on. It generates a lot of interest. People come by and want to talk about it and want to see and want to get our handout. And everybody says, just do it. We were going to put out a little coffee can to get a contribution or two, but it's something that everybody who talks to us wants it and likes it and thinks we're doing a good job with it. So it is very popular with the people in the town. And we also we set up that. We also supported last year. We went to the Winter Carnival. Unfortunately, the Winter Carnival is held outdoors, which doesn't lend itself to having a booth, as there are some people who do it, but our committee is a little more prone to cold, I think. And so we did it last year. I don't think we're going to do it again this year.
Absolutely. Always freezing.
But, I would say that the media division has done a lot to boost our presence in the town this year. We have developed what we call a social presence. We've got a Facebook page now that's got over 500 followers, that people who continue to watch what we do and encourage us to keep doing it. So that's been very popular. For next year, we have some plans to expand that a little more, and especially with the construction of the Sauhegan River Trail, we're going to get filming of that and add to it the Woodbury Street, which we did film, but we haven't put up on the screen yet. We've got a oh yes. The next thing, of course, is the Wire Road intersection reconstruction. We had a public meeting. It was conducted by Quantum Engineering, who did the design. It was done in this room, and it was done with the media support. And it showed people, it just talked about it. It didn't propose any designs. And the proposal is that they will come back to the town. This is Quantum Engineering, will be back to the town in January, February, and with some alternatives for people to consider. There's still on the table, I think, T intersection. This is Wire Road and Route 3 intersection. T intersection, roundabout, or a lighted intersection. And I won't say what I favor, but they're all in the grab bag right now. You know, so we're still looking at those too. NRPC gave us a lot of support this year. They re-upped our maps. You know, we had a fairly large map, and we have a small handout map of our trail system and of our sidewalk system. And we've updated that map because some construction has been done since the map was originally made. And that will be out early next year. We've got a full-sized one for show and tell at stand-up meetings. And we've got a handout one that people can use to actually follow if they choose to do so. So, what did I say? Let's see here. Yeah, we're in the process of doing the handout. In the area of safe routes to school, the school district completed this year, did complete the master plan for their high school area. I've talked about this last year. They had a consultant come in and they looking at different ways of arranging the pedestrian and automobile traffic to in the high school area. And that project ties in with the O'Gara Drive sidewalk completion. As you may know, there's a gap in the sidewalks presently at the along O'Gara Drive that doesn't quite get all the way out to Route 3. And the intention is to redo that at the same time that they do the other road reconstructions around in the area. I think what they're telling me now is that the school board is waiting for, I think they feel they need permission to raise the red building, which is not being used and is not in safe enough condition to be used economically. And they want to get rid of that first before they try and implement. It affects the layout of the road in there, the way they're going to do it. So we're kind of waiting on that. Perhaps it'll be on the warrant for the school this year to remove that building again. It was on there a year ago, and I think it did not pass the voters. Then, well, we have our virtual walk to school day, and it happens to have been today. So there was a group of kids out there. Fortunately, it wasn't raining, and we had that. So that's a national thing that's put on by the teachers associations to encourage kids to walk to school. So they drop them off at one end of O'Gara Drive and pick them up at the other end. But okay, I think that takes care of that pretty much as far as the school district is concerned. For next year, what we're planning to do, we're going to continue to support the SAU in their efforts to pass this warrant article, and also to do the changes needed to make the town, the high school area more presentable, more safe for pedestrians and traffic at the same time. We're going to continue our information booths as best we can. We will not be supporting the winter carnival because they're going to do it outdoors again. We will be doing the pancake breakfast. That's indoors. The library chose not to do a turkey shoot this year. In previous years, we did turkey shoots, but there's not going to be one this year. They decided not to do it for whatever reasons, I don't know. We're going to continue working with the media group and getting our message on the TV and on the local TV and on the web pages. And we're also working, well, we will or have been working with DPW and as far as getting our wishes onto the capital improvement program. You may see some of tonight, perhaps. Our recommendations this year, we're sort of at a stop point as far as building anything new or planning anything new until we can get some financial support, because we can do it in small phases, small pieces, as we had said previously a couple years ago. As you may know, that's how we got the Woodbury Street done. And we still have a few more small pieces that we could do if we could get some support for it. That's a request, okay? the major portions. Yeah, well, of course, the Wire Road and Route 3 bridge, Wire Road intersection, Route 3 bridge is the next major project that's in the works, if you will. It's been funded and it's in the plans. It's about 2 years, I think it's in 2025 is when it begins. So that's the next big thing that we have funded for. We're recommending that you continue budgeting annually to implement small pieces of the sidewalk that are not complete. There's still gaps, and specifically the Twin Bridge Road to connect it to the exit from the park, from Twin Bridge Park, which goes on to Twin Bridge Road, and we wanted to make a loop there, and that would be a piece that we could do. The library to the police station would be a piece that we could do. In your packet tonight, I think you'll be seeing a proposed possible crosswalk at Shaw's North in Merrimack. As this is out of our jurisdiction. The town center committee doesn't go that far north, but we would support that, as well as we support the sidewalk to the 360 shopping center, so-called, from there to the Rite Aid. There's a little piece of that that actually goes through Fraser Square Park, and that piece we would hope would get built with the big project, but that's 2030, I think. That's a ways away. Let me see what else I've got here. Okay, well, we'll continue to support that. Well, we need some way of implementing the remaining requests that were made, or suggestions that were made in the ITRAC study. We still haven't addressed, and some of those are expensive and difficult to do. The committee is looking at other possible sources of funds. We've got a list of the most current fundings available for sidewalk construction. This is a nationwide list of groups that support this, and we'll be looking at those again. We did a few years ago. A couple of issues to keep in your radar is the issue with Church Street. You may recall that this committee at the beginning did some work with the people in the area of Church Street and looking at Church Street and looking at building a sidewalk north from the library to Wire Road. And that requires going across Church Street. And you can't really build a sidewalk across Church Street the way it's laid out now. And the suggestion that this committee made to the council at that time was to discontinue that little link of Church Street that comes down to Route 3 and make it, and then you can build a sidewalk across there, across the new restaurant that's going in. Kyle is hoping we can get that wrapped into the construction of the Wire Road intersection. And that's quite possible. The rub is it's going to require some action by this committee to discontinue that as a street, because we can't have the sidewalk and the street in the same spot, unfortunately. Major construction, there's other ways to solve the problem, but it's major construction, which would be a lot more expensive than discontinuing it. So that's something for the council to consider. The other piece that's difficult, or most difficult, is the east side of Daniel Webster Highway from the Lobster Boat to the Route 3 bridge. That's the east side. It goes across some private property, and it goes across some commercially used properties, and that is going to be a difficult thing to work, but it will require your support and help to make it happen. I think that pretty much wraps up what we're going to be working with the Merrimack Master Plan. There'll be a master plan coming out shortly, and we'll try and weave as much of our planning into the Merrimack Master Plan so that we'll wind up with one plan here. They're both consistent with each other. So that's about what I have.
Thanks,
I'm
Nelson.
here for questions and answers.
Yeah, the Church Street conversation will have to happen sooner than later, I'm afraid, because that's quite involved. It's not just as simple as closing it off. It's figuring how to route traffic going up to the adult community center from the library, going through and all the new business over there, all that. It's a big mixed up component, but, Barbara, did you have something?
No, that was the
Oh.
question, that was the question I had. You know, what was the plan for that? Because I'm not picturing it. And like I said, we have houses on that road as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be
Yeah,
considered there.
there was a lot of conversation the first time around with the homes up there.
We
and so
did
on.
a lot of research at the beginning. We talked to all the landowners up there. We talked to the church and to the senior center people who were running the senior center and so on, and to the library. It really, the way we had proposed it, it didn't really affect the library very much at all. But it did somewhat affect the people who live there. At the end of the day, I think we had a majority of the people agreeing to this. The majority of the stakeholders, I'll say, had agreed to it. But that was 6 years ago or so. So there's a whole new bunch of people now. We did talk, we met with the church elders up there and talked to them about it. And everybody who lived up there had some issue with it that they also wanted fixed at the same time, which complicates matters. They didn't mind closing off Church Street. Oh, but by the way, don't use our driveway for this and don't park here, and a lot of other things that, so it's a complex issue, and it really takes some consideration, and it probably is not going to get 100% of the people involved, just because some people wouldn't want to do it. But it's the right thing to do for safety, and for, there was an accident there where a kid came down the hill on a bike and got hit by a car. So that was some years ago.
And it was closed once before, years ago, for a short time because everybody didn't like it and they opened it back up.
Yes,
guess, but-
as I understand, they did it, but they didn't do it with the blessing of the council.
No,
or
they just did it.
selectmen.
It was the
They
good
just
old days.
did it.
Did anybody, Tom?
So Nelson, can you give us a better understanding of why we can't put a sidewalk across there without blocking that road off?
Okay, it has to do with the pitch of the road. The road comes down at a really steep angle as it intersects with Route 3. The sidewalk would cross during that pitch. See, you can't build, well, you can, but you can't legally, you know, if you're using federal funds or any of it, you have to build a sidewalk, it has to be on the flat. You can't build a sidewalk
that's the
that's
problem. Okay.
leaning this way, okay? So the problem is then you've got to dig into the bank. And if you dig into the bank, then you've got to dig all the way back to the top of the bank. That's why I said there's other ways, but it'd be more expensive. And of course, it's not a safe entrance onto Route 3 either.
No, it's
If you
certainly not.
Look
but-
at it from cars coming down there. the car hit a bicycle, but it could have hit another car or whatever as it comes down if you don't, not looking to the left. It's kind of like the intersection of Wire Road and Route 3. You've got awkward, but there you've got a little more space, but this one you don't.
Right.
So that's the issue. And oh well, highway safety was involved, by the way. They agreed with the discontinuing it at that time. It's probably a new
Right.
highway safety committee now.
Okay, I just,
Yeah.
you had said that you can't build across there, and I wanted to understand how blocking the road was gonna fix that, but that would allow you to then cut back on that hill if the road didn't come down there without having to cut all the way
That's
back
right.
out.
That's right. Exactly.
And make
Yes.
the
Yes.
sidewalk flat.
So
Okay, Thank you.
anything's possible if you want to pay for it, but
no, I don't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then, well, the further difficulty is not only is it a steep road, I don't know what grades
Well,
are allowed. at
I've
that
done it
point,
once or
but-
twice and been very nervous
But,
about
but it's
pulling
also at
out.
an angle, it's kind
Yeah,
of
so
southerly
looking back
facing.
over your
so
left side is
it's-
very
it's not
difficult.
Perpendicular to Route 3. So the combination of those two things really make a
All right,
Yeah.
I
confliction.
fully agree with that.
So,
yeah, I probably misspoke by saying you couldn't do it. You for money you can
Well, that's
do
what
it.
I wanted to understand. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Right.
You can bottom out your car pretty good.
yeah, you can.
Good sidewalk.
What?
So if you put a flat sidewalk, bottom out car pretty good coming down.
You almost do that as it is. So, is there anything further for Nelson? Thank you very much, Nelson.
That's it.
Nelson, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Okay, I appreciate any help you can give us to keep the community going. But we'll have an exciting year here with the addition of the new trail. Hopefully, we can get it done this construction season.
Yeah.
Which will be
Took a lot longer.
occasion for a ceremony.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking a long time and costs have been going skyrocketing lately, so I'm crossing my fingers that you get a good bid.
That's a worry, yeah. And it's already, from the original bidding, the original planning of it, it's gotten a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
But of course, we had a lot of other fingers come into the pot. A lot of people, there's federal monies, and they want it done a certain way, and it added to the cost.
Right.
Yep.
And they did some very interesting work. There's been some very interesting historical studies of that area and what went on there, and some old photographs. They dug up a lot of stuff. None of that was in our
In your
thinking.
original plan.
in
Yeah.
our original plan at all. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your time,
Thank
ladies
you,
and
Nelson.
gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is, we have a couple of public hearings. The first public hearing is Homeland Security Grant for the Merrimack Police Department. Council's to hold a public hearing to authorize the acceptance and expenditure of the Homeland Security Grant in the amount of $14,512 for the Merrimack Police Department, made available through the Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, to be used towards the purchase of 5 night vision goggle units for our officers. A couple of spelling or grammatical things here. Sorry about that. Pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8, Section 15. Pat, good evening.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me. Appreciate that and the opportunity to present this grant. I think it was probably about a month ago, Lieutenant Mike Marcotte came before you to present a similar grant. So basically, this is literally the same equipment, same company, pretty much same everything. The situation here is we had this money allotted to our SRT officers through. So it's a Homeland Security grant, but it's money that's allotted for SWAT teams in the state through the NHTOA, which is the New Hampshire Tactical Officers Association. So this money was specifically earmarked. Every once in a while, they'll have money that's earmarked for certain things, search and rescue and so forth. This money here was specifically earmarked for NVG or night vision equipment. So when we had the money, it's one of these things where, listen, you have to spend it, and this is what you have to spend it on. And if you don't spend it, you lose it. So when Mike came before you, it was for 3 units. This is going to allow us to get 5 additional units. We have 6 of our officers. I think Chief LeVay came before you to let you know that we're now a part of a regional team. So that'll equip the other 3 officers that we have that are joining the team. So they will all be night vision compatible with everybody else on the team, which is good because that's what you need. You got to be compatible. And that was the other purpose of this grant. And we'll have 2 spare units in case we need them. So that's kind of the gist of it. It allows us obviously to operate in low light or nighttime in environments, whether you're looking for anything from a missing person to a hostage taker to an active shooter. It just gives us that capability. So.
Perfect. Anybody have any questions or thoughts or comments? Juan?
Yeah, officer, I just want to be clear. The SRT and then now the chief was just with us for the regional. They'll all be utilizing this equipment?
Yeah, so we have 6 of our officers that were on our special response team, which has since been disbanded. So we have 6 officers that were on that team that are now joining the regional team.
Okay.
So they have all of their equipment and will be continuing to use the equipment that we've had. But this will give them that night vision capability that we haven't had and have needed for quite some time. And it's actually something that one of the grant managers with Homeland has been kind of pushing for us to get. I'll give you an example. When we had the barricaded subject on Babuzik Lake Road years ago, when Nashua PD was called, their SWAT team came and linked up with our officers. And as it became a nighttime operation, it got to a point where some of our officers that were assisting them on a perimeter basis, we couldn't utilize our own guys individually. We had to link them up with a national officer because they had the night vision capability. So we were kind of at a disadvantage there. So now that we have these units, we can self-deploy and not be so reliant on, whatever other departments that we're working with that already have this capability. So we have all the equipment we need basically at this point to be fully operational with these guys. So this is what that'll provide us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tom?
So, thank you. Are these units now assigned to specific individuals, or are they
Yes.
part of the staff equipment?
It's going to be assigned to the officers that are on the team. So, and it's a helmet mounted device. It's a monocular. It's a 1-power monocular device, and it gets mounted to the helmet. So that way, if they get deployed, and it even could be a daytime operation where you have to go indoors and it's low light, they have that capability now. But it's going to be an issued piece of equipment. It's still going to be department owned, department maintained, but it's going to be utilized by that specific officer.
So if we had an incident that would need that kind of stuff, those folks would be called in on overtime or something if they weren't on
Absolutely.
staff
Yep,
already.
that's absolutely.
That would be normal procedure to call in a
Yes.
special team?
Yes. Because the officers, although we have those officers assigned to that regional team, we can still use them for a critical incident that we have here that doesn't necessarily rise to the level of a SWAT call out.
Yeah.
So in other words, we can still deploy those guys in town, but not have to, it's not going to be a full contingent of regional guys coming here. So if we have somebody who's lost in Horse Hill, let's say at night, which has happened quite a bit, not
Often enough,
recently.
yeah.
But we could call a couple of those guys in. Sometimes, like a lot of these guys too, they still work patrol. So remember that.
Yeah.
And they'll have their gear. We can use them in that capacity. And that's not a SWAT call. But we would have the ability to go into a low light or nighttime environment and look for somebody, say, that's missing. And this equipment would be very, very helpful in that respect. So.
Okay.
Anything further? Nope. I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:45. If anybody would like to address the council, you can come to this mic, or seeing none. All right, I'll close the public hearing at 7:46. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the grant for $14,512 from the Homeland Security Office for the Merrimack Police Department for the purchase of 5 night vision goggles for our officers pursuant to RSA 31:95-B and Charter Article 8-15, and that the town manager be authorized to sign any documentation or paperwork necessary.
Second.
Motion by Tom, second by Barbara. Any further discussion on the motion?
No.
Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? 600. Thanks, Matt.
All right, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
Next public hearing is public hearing to authorize the acceptance and expenditure of a grant in the amount of $1,072,500 for the town of Merrimack, made available through the Governor's Office for Emergency Relief and Recovery and New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services to be used towards the PFAS rebate project pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8, Section 15. Paul.
Good evening. We've been at this for a while, and now it finally came to fruition. I just need authority to sign this grant for the town of Merrimack. What we're talking about is, this is the $6,500 grant, point of entry, point of use, or other systems in the town. This would be similar to what the state is doing for for this project as well. The state offers $5,000 for point of entry, point of use, and $10,000 for connecting to a public water source. We're just offering $6,500 for a home in Merrimack. It's either one or the other. So meaning that you either can apply for the state or apply for the town's money. There's a form that would need to be filled out through the town of Merrimack as well, that you would have to be above the limits that were set by New Hampshire DES. And this is just really the money that we've been talking about, the $1 million, so we can get this program running for the outer limits. Anybody outside the outer limit who is contaminated with PFAS in their drinking water, they can start moving on this. I have talked to several people in the last week, and the $6,500 should be very sufficient to do it. It's running about, at most, $4,500 to get a point of entry system in the house, depending on how many vessels that people need.
Anybody have any questions for Paul? I actually do have a quick question because my daughter has taken advantage of the state one and had a filtration system put in. She opted to have a softener or whatever, water softener, installed as well, which wasn't covered. Is that something that we've contemplated? Are we covering that?
We
or-
haven't contemplated covering water softeners. This is just to get
Just
the
the
carbon-based
filtration.
filtration
Okay.
systems in these homes
Nope.
for
very
the
good.
individuals so that they can drink clean water.
Yep. I never even contemplated that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be sure. So, all right. Is there anything further? Open the public hearing. I'll open the public hearing at 7:50. And Nancy, while the public hearing's open, to burn up a minute, so I can give the real time. What would you like? Sorry.
I was just going to add that that these funds are available to us through Gopher and DES, but they are ARPA funds. They were federal funding that came here, which is phenomenal. It's a to impacted homeowners. It's a big help. So we're really fortunate to get this grant, and I hope a lot of people will take advantage of it.
Yep, no, definitely. Thank you. If anybody would like to address the council, you would have to come to the mic. And seeing no one here, I'll close the public hearing at 7:51. And Nancy,
I'd like to make a motion
please.
that the town council authorize the acceptance and expenditure of a grant in the amount of $1,072,500 for the town of Merrimack, made available through the Governor's Office for Emergency Relief and Recovery and New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, to be used towards the PFAS rebate project pursuant to RSA 31:95B and Charter Article 8:15. The town manager be authorized to sign all related documents.
Second.
Motion by Nancy Murphy, seconded by Barbara. Any further discussion on your motion? See
No, it's
further
good to see this going forward.
Yeah.
Yep, no, definitely, absolutely. I'll then call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed or abstained, it's 600.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Legislative updates, I didn't even check my email this evening.
get any.
There's nothing. Town manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The New Hampshire Secretary of State's office has been offering a number of training programs throughout the year with the end goal of instilling voter confidence in the elections and the election process. The New Hampshire Secretary of State's office tracks attendance of these election officials at the workshops and training sessions that they are offered, both online and in person. Elections officials include clerks, moderators, selectmen, counselors, ballot inspectors. Our own Diane Trippett, town clerk tax collector, has recently been recognized by the Secretary of State's office at the 2022 annual New Hampshire City and Town Clerks Association Conference as one of the top 3 clerks in New Hampshire for attendance at these sessions. Diana has attended 10 training sessions during the past year. Merrimack Police Department hosted the first senior information fair since 2019 just the other day on October 26th at the John O'Leary Adult Community Center. It was a good turnout with 22 agencies representing businesses and nonprofits that provided information, freebies, and other giveaways to the senior adults. The state of New Hampshire, contracting with our on-site medical professionals, provided COVID bivalent booster shots to 69 adults that scheduled through the town welfare office, and some that were just attending the fair were walk-ins. So the fair, I went over there yesterday. It was nice to have it back and in person. And there was a lot of information for our seniors out there. And if you weren't able to attend, please call our office and we'll get you some of the information that was available. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Nothing on the consent agenda. Old business capital improvement programs. Paul's going to provide us with the CIP for 2023 to 2029.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I went in front of the planning board on October 18th to present the town of Merrimack's major capital improvement plan. And there was some recommendations that they did put out to some of the projects. Mostly all our projects are necessary, except we did have 3 desirable projects. One of them was the Old Drive Bridge improvement. No, sorry, wrong one. The Natticook Road Triangle Drainage Road improvements. That was desirable because it was put in towards a placeholder on the out year. Merrimack Boat Ramp access at Griffin Street. That was listed as desirable. DW Highway Sidewalk Improvements 2021 TAP was put down as desirable. And then the athletic fields were put down desirable. Everything else was necessary. At the meeting, I'd be remiss to say that the chair and some of the members really are looking at sidewalks in the town of Merrimack. And they would like the town council to continue to fund sidewalks throughout the town of Merrimack whenever possible. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. There was several questions and some very good questions that were asked at the meeting. But most of the stuff we already went over with the town council. I know that I was asked to bring this back once the planning board did make their recommendations. If there was something that we needed to move around or move someplace else with it. There is a lot of money in these capital improvement plans. In 23-24, there's over $25 million that we are looking at in the capital improvement plan. 15 million of that 25 million is on a bond. So there is some significant money in this capital improvement plan, of the major capital improvement plan. A lot of roads, a lot of drainage. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions at this time.
Does anybody have anything for Paul or any of the comments from the planning board, I guess? No? That was too easy, Paul. I guess we're good.
Okay.
All right. That works for me. So, let me see. Next item, under old business, Town of Merrimack return check policy, council will consider. Well, actually, we have to pull this off the table. It was tabled at our last meeting.
Did we table it?
Yes,
We
we
did,
did.
yeah.
Oh. Move to take it off the table.
Motion by Tom, second by Barbara. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained, 6-0-0. The council consider the recommended changes to the Town of Merrimack return check or electronic means policy with some corrections that we had looked for, or adjustments that we had looked for at our last meeting.
And I believe those adjustments were made. And then there was a question about the town clerk tax collector with motor vehicles. The individuals are given that 14-day grace period as well. So we do not send the registration notice up to the state until after the 14 days. So if you write a bad check and you don't come within the 14 days, then we send it up to the Department of Motor Vehicles and then they act on it to revoke or suspend the registration. I think that was one of the questions that was asked.
Yes, it was.
The other things I'll let Tom talk about. I know we had a question about can we come in person and or does it have to be sent in by mail, things of that sort. So Tom will be able to address all those items.
We did add clarifying language about the ability to come and pay in person. And we cleaned up some of the other language where we're using words that are a little more straightforward and less subject to question, I think. But certainly if you have any additional comments or questions about it, we can discuss them now.
Okay. Tom?
So you said you cleaned up the language about whether or not you had to mail it in. Where is that? Because the form still says mail it to the following address. I'm wondering what was changed.
In the sample form letter did change. I don't know that if you're looking at the same one that I am, but the one that I am says payment may be made to the Town of Merrimack Finance Office during office hours, or may be made at the Town of Merrimack Finance Office during office hours, or if you pay by certified check or money order made payable to the Town of Merrimack, you may mail it to the following address.
Okay, so I don't have the updated version in my packet. I've got the original, which is kind of difficult. That sounded good, though. Thanks. On page 1 of 3 in BI, it said the customer, which includes proper justification. Did we talk about changing proper to sufficient, or I don't know what proper justification is, so.
Sufficient could work as well.
All right, I didn't know, I don't recall what we talked about doing last time, and I'm wondering if I just got old copies or something, or if something was changed. These are highlighted in yellow.
The current draft still says proper justification.
Okay. That's probably fine. It just strikes me as a little bit of a strange way to say that if you're really leaving it up to the manager to decide whether that's sufficient or not.
Sufficient.
Yep, I have no issue with changing that word to sufficient.
Barbara?
Yeah, regarding that particular paragraph again, proper justification or sufficient justification, I'd like to see a little bit more around that, like maybe an example, so that there's more guidance there. It's not so subjective, but becomes more objective. On page 2, Part D, 2, the treasurer will create a compiled list of offenders and make it available to department heads monthly. What do they do with it?
The department heads?
Yeah.
They are supposed to check. So if you're on the list and you've wrote 3 or 4 bad checks, they're not supposed to take a check from you. You have to pay with cash. So
Well,
if you're at the transfer station, you would have to pay with cash.
So this is a policy. Shouldn't it say in the policy what they do with that and what the expectation is? Like where does the department head get that directive on what to do with that list? Is it in another document? Because this is the policy.
It must have got by us all the last time.
I guess it's back. It's up in page 1A, number 2. The second return check ICH customer will be notified in writing that they may now only make payments with cash, money order, or bank certified check within the town or department. So that would be on the list from the treasurer to departments.
So should that reference back to that list
We could.
to tie that loop up?
We can.
Because other than that, that list may just sit there every month.
Well, but they're told in A2 that they can't accept checks from those individuals. I mean, it's,
Well, I think it's not clear since it's a policy, because we just had to go around looking at it several times. Just my opinion.
I could do it either way. To me, it makes sense on the surface, but it should be looped back in some fashion. That can be done easily enough.
We could say something there like if a repeat offender is on the list, then departments can only accept cash from those repeat offenders.
So we already,
cash or certified check or
So that's
something.
a certified check. We can say something like that there.
You would add that to section A2,
Actually D2.
or you would put it in D2.
Yeah.
right, because it kind of says it already in,
Yeah, so we can say,
Just reference the prior.
see, what is it, Roman numeral 3?
Roman numeral 3, see guidelines. Part A, number 2.
Number 3A2. Okay,
Mhm.
we'll reference that back.
Okay.
That works.
Is there anything further? Or? I think it works for me, but I'm always anticipating somebody will find something that I've overlooked. So
I move that we accept the return check electronic means policy update. Further discussion tonight of the 2 changes we've talked about, but to go ahead and implement it at this point.
first by Tom, seconded by Andy. Any further discussion?
I think that it doesn't need to come back before us again. If they can get those 2 clarifications that you pointed out tonight, I would be fine with it.
We'll get it done.
Oh, good. All right. No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained, 600. Thanks, Paul. Thank you, Tom. All right. Item number 1 under new business, the council to contemplate the budget parameters for the 2023-24 budget season. Well, it's excitement coming up.
Can't believe we're already talking about the 23-24 budget. But I guess it is November, so budget season's
Or
gonna be
awfully
here,
close, yeah.
real soon, so. Just want to state that the 2020 tax rate is delayed. We expect to have the tax rate sometime next week. We want to thank everybody for their patience. There are several reasons for this delay. There was a lawsuit brought up against the way that the state was funding education. And when that happens, all the communities that had all their paperwork in to get their tax rates set early in October get delayed and pushed back. The other thing is that DRA, Department of Revenue Administration, only has 2.5 people setting tax rates for the whole 400 communities. Every community has to go through DRA to get their tax rate set. Even cities have to go to DRA to get their tax rate set. We've tried through the government finance officers group to say, we're a professional organization. We have professional finance directors. We actually know what our tax rate is before you even set the tax rate. Why can't you let us set our tax rate or tell you what the tax rate is and you just rubber stamp it? Not rubber stamp it, but approve it that way. We break ours out by school, county, the whole everything. We know exactly what each one's supposed to be when we go up and they set the tax rate, and we can tell them sometimes, well, I think you made a mistake on some of this stuff, which they have done in the past. But it's got to have something. It's got to be a better way. And here's the other kicker: they only have 2.5 people presenting tax rates. They only have one person approving their work. So it sits on a supervisor's desk, and they go in there on a day and they approve all these tax rates. They got to go check the work and then approve the tax rates. So that's why it's delayed. Hopefully, like I said, it will be out sooner than later. I'm not a big fan of Christmas tax bills. We'll work with Diane to make sure that that doesn't happen. It might be one of those deals again this year where they're due by the 31st of December. Because right now we're looking at 27th of October. We need 2 weeks for Diane to get her. If we got the tax rate tomorrow, in a perfect world, we'd need 10 days. 10 days would push that out to Veterans Day. So it would be, in a perfect world, if we got it, tax bill would be due around December 12th to 13th.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to get the tax rate any tomorrow because of other issues. So with that being said, what we know coming in this coming budget, we actually had a not to exceed in our workers' compensation insurance of a not 8%. We got our updated rates and it was a decrease this year. Property liability increased. We had not to exceed 5%. Health insurance, we have a guaranteed maximum rate of 11.3%. Short-term disability, we had a guaranteed maximum rate of 3.2%. We have 3 union contracts that are getting a 3% wage adjustment. New Hampshire Retirement decreased their rates this year. There's a decrease in comp absences. We all feel the pain at the gas pumps. The fuel prices are increasing. With that increase in sand and salt, we're in a contract with tipping fees. They're going up. The electrical supply costs are going up. Not so much what we pay per kilowatt because we're in long-term deals that you'll see on the next slide, but it's the supply cost of Eversource bringing it to the building is gone up as well. Reduction in debt. We actually, the drainage bond was paid off this year. This year, meaning the year we're in, will be paid off by June 30th, 2023. So next year we won't have that. Looking at increasing the capital reserve deposits, increasing paving, We have the 800 megahertz system, communication equipment maintenance contract that we had for a half a year that we'll have to pay for another half a year this year. So there's an increased cost there. Natural gas rates. We signed an agreement for a long-term deal. It's a 0% increase on delivery. We're good until 2025, and we're paying 6.7 cents per therm. Electrical rate, no increase due to a long-term contract that's ending 12/20/24, and that's at 6.7 cents as well for our electrical rates. When these contracts expire, we're going to see a significant hit unless the world decides to calm down again and things get back to normal. I was on a economist web forum today, and basically what they were saying is that out of all the heating supplies, natural gas has skyrocketed. Propane and electric have increased, but not as much as everything else. And then heating oil has skyrocketed. So natural gas and heating oil has skyrocketed. We basically have changed over most of our heating systems from oil to natural gas several years ago. So we're looking at natural gas. And one of our biggest consumers of natural gas is the wastewater treatment plant and the compost facility. And that's the other reason why we have such good rates, is because we piggyback with their electric and their natural gas, which they do use a lot of both of those. What we don't know is the state revenues, rooms and meals. They changed the way they're going to be providing rooms and meals to us. It's actually a percentage of current year's rooms and meals. So it used to be we got a number from last year or two, so the state's on a July to June fiscal year like we are, and then they bring the rooms and meals in. So for 2022-23, we'll be looking at 2022-23. That's the apportionment that we would get in 2023-24. So they've changed it where we're not 2 years behind the 8 ball anymore. We're only 1 year behind the 8 ball. But we don't know where we're going to sit with rooms and meals. Everything that I've been seeing is that there is significant amount of money coming in. However, they decreased the meals tax. So that also affects us. Highway block grants with that's the tax that we get with everybody in the fuels when they fuel up their vehicles. With the gas prices being so high and a lot more people working from home, there could be some adjustments with the highway block grant. We have 3 union contracts we're looking at negotiating this year. American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, Local 2986, Local 3657, IAFF, our International Firefighters, Association of Firefighters, 2904. Those are 3 contracts that we're looking to negotiate. Of course, non-union wage increases as well. Use of fund balance. And the big one on the bottom is inflation. Right now, inflation's looking at 8 to 10%. It depends on what you look at, though. Consumer goods might be a little less than food and gasoline and heating oil. However, on average, it's between 8 to 10% is inflation. And that's on everything. And we're going to see price increases on everything, meaning clothing, just basic education, everything that we do, there's going to be a general inflationary factor in there as well. So what we know is we're estimating our 2020 municipal tax rate to be $3.92. Workers' comp is $11,000 decrease. Property liability is a $15,000 increase. Health insurance is $282,000 or 6 cents on the tax rate increase.
That's the guaranteed maximum, or
That's the guaranteed maximum. Short-term disability is $7,520. Union wages with those 3 contracts that we know that are getting 3% is about 4 cents on the tax rate. Decrease rate in the New Hampshire retirement system is 241,000, or a decrease of 5 cents. A decrease in workers' comp is about 100,000, or a 2-cent decrease. Gasoline, we're figuring about a $97,000 increase in gasoline, or 2 cents on the tax rate. Sand and salt price increases, $25,000. Solid waste disposal is going up 60,000, or roughly a penny on the tax rate. Electric supply costs, we're saying about $25,000. Reduction in drainage bond debt, $155,000, or a 3-cent savings. Capital Reserve Fund deposits increase of $312,000, a 6 cents increase. Paving to help offset the SAFER grant, $1 million. Now, remember, we're putting money aside so that we don't get hit with an 18-cent increase when the SAFER grant is up in 24-25. So that's the amount that we need to have set aside, is about $1 million right now in 23-24. Last year we did some, that was the 800 megahertz system that we put in place. In communication equipment, you see that 750,000 underneath it. So really that's only a $250,000 increase from one year to the next, because of the way we're doing, way it works out with that SAFER grant. Communication equipment as a $28,000 increase. And then we have a revenue increase of $375,000. I know that says it's weird the way it is, but revenues are negative, and that's a 7-cent reduction on the tax rate with the $375,000 increase in the rates. And then we're looking at decreasing the use of fund balance about $650,000, or 13 cents. All said and done, about looking at right now 21-cent increase on the tax rate without those 3 union contracts or any non-union raises. And then that sticky point is the inflation. But we're going to try to curtail that as much as possible throughout the budget.
Any questions? Well,
And I understand, because like I said, they're looking at, they were talking about a soft landing today versus a hard crash. So they're hoping for a soft landing in the second quarter of 2023, which would mean the June quarter of 2023. With this, they're hoping that the Fed funds and all that they are doing with their monetary resources would not put us into a major recession, but what they call a soft recession, to kind of reset. As the gentleman said today, they're hoping to reset everything. And when we ask what does reset mean, he means just things have been going, the building industry has been going nuts. Case in point, we got buildings going up, apartment buildings going up, we got new homes going up in town here. And it's just, they're starting to see that slow down because of the interest rate being 30-year mortgage being at 7.5%. So they're starting to see that slow down. Well, the trickle down effect is that the building supplies are at a high. The soft reset would start bringing down some of those building supplies because they couldn't get them. Now they'll have more supply than need. So that we're not going to go back to the rates that were 5 years ago, but the prices will start coming down again with a soft reset, as they say. That's what that's what everybody, the economists, are hoping for. We'll just have to see how the first quarter of next year goes.
And of course, you have to have your budget together before then, so you
December
really don't-
1st.
You have no idea what's going to happen.
Exactly.
real warm and fuzzy. I mean,
Hmm?
not real warm and fuzzy over a soft landing.
You're not having a warm.
I'm
Oh,
I'm
okay.
very
That's the
concerned.
thing.
I'm very
I'm
concerned.
terribly concerned.
These the same economists that said inflation was just transitory? Same ones?
That was a couple of years.
So that's when they
This
gave
is
the
a
Nobel
different guy,
Prize.
but I'm sure he was on that bandwagon too. But no, so I'm projecting a 21-cent increase. Of course, that's the high end. As you know, when I get
The
my budget,
high end? You haven't even included the wages for the unions.
Right, but
And you just told us that inflation's running 8 or 10%.
yeah. So I'm hoping to be less than 21% increase on the
Gotta be less than
tax rate.
21% because people can't.
21 cents, not
21%.
percent. Oh my gosh.
But in either, it doesn't matter because you know what? We can't go out with an increase like that. People can't afford it out there.
Yep. I mean,
Understood. And I understand it's
it's
But
not taking into account values or anything at this
no,
point.
no,
so-
there's no additional, I didn't put any additional value in here at this point. When I present my budget, we'll have all those
Yeah.
numbers for additional value. Because we do have some, as of April 1st, we do have some additional values that we do have for the year we'll have in 2023.
And this number has no surplus funds.
It has some surplus, it does have some surplus, it does have some
You had a $650,000
dollar
reduction.
reduction, right? That will bring it down.
So using what, about 300,000 or?
Yeah, around $300,000. But there is money in there but
Right.
I'm just trying to go with the goal that we set a couple of years ago about trying to reduce some of
Reduce that amount, but
that amount.
we had a good year also, I think, so.
Yeah, we did. We did have a good year, so there's money there to do it, but I'm not looking at that to balance I don't want to use fund balance.
Well, but you haven't
for-
even dealt
for
with
operating
unions yet.
expenses.
Yeah,
Right.
If I'm gonna use fund balance to help offset something, I wanted a one-time expenditure. So that we're not gonna sit here and go next year, okay, well, we don't have the $500,000 in fund balance, now we gotta add 10 cents on the tax rate. Because we don't have that.
That was, the tax rate went down in half back in 05, 06
yeah,
timeframe.
somewhere.
And,
We gave a lot of money back then.
dissolution of the library fund of a couple million, I think, workers'
Couple
comp,
million, yeah.
was a substantial.
2.4 million, and they gave over $2 million back in fund balance that year too, one lump sum, boom.
And it went down and next year went
Next
back
year it
up,
went skyrocketing
Yeah.
back up. Yeah.
just enough to annoy everybody.
Yeah.
Yes, it was,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, tough, but
But I did have my quote. I did have the quote that year. What goes down comes up, and what goes down what goes up comes down, and what goes down comes up.
yep,
I told people to be careful.
hold on, yeah.
I did.
That's why the focus for a long time now has been on that stability thing, recognizing,
Trying to.
trying to do that. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. Does anybody have anything? Oh, Lon, you did. I'm sorry, Lon.
Yeah, I've been around budgets a while now, and I appreciate your candor. But I want you to know and the council to know, I'm not at all confident with the 21 cents staying where it is.
Me either.
I believe it's going to rise unless we really work at it. Just saying, and thank you. Are we going to get a printout of this presentation or no?
Yeah, yes, I will make sure that you get a printout of it.
It's just a place to start.
yeah.
I understand that, but
No, you'll have it all in your bins tomorrow. I'll make sure it gets printed out tomorrow for you.
thank you.
Thank you, Lon. Anything further? All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
Paul. Next item on the agenda, approval of the October 13th, 2022 meeting minutes. Barbara?
Yeah, just a couple of minor things. On page 2, line 41.
Move them.
You gotta move 'em first?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, move them.
Move
Move to accept
By
the
Barbara.
minutes of October 13th, 2022 with changes.
Second. Barbara?
Yeah, on page 2, line 41, Merrimack Fire Department should be capitalized. On page 4, line 1, the fire department, again, should be capitalized. And that's all I had.
Anybody have any further corrections? No? Thank you, Barbara, for those. All right. No further discussion. I'll call the question on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? 600. Comments from the press, comments from the public, comments from the council.
The election on the
Yes,
8th.
so it's, I didn't know if we would,
Do we want to just everybody take the same jobs and positions of the primary election as far as covering the polls? Or, pardon?
That's my intention.
That would be mine too. I just wanted to vocalize that.
Barbara and Nancy, just make sure you let somebody know who's covering for you, so they know.
well, the last one,
'Cause-
I'm always at the upper elementary school, but I was moved over to the middle school until, I think, 2:00. I can't even remember now. Covering, I don't even remember for whom. I just,
Probably me.
was it you? You were at the middle school. I couldn't remember, but I just, so, I'll be there all day, so whatever.
I'll be around all day, assuming I get back. I have a flight back on the 7th.
Oh, gosh.
So if all the flights are going through fine, then I'll be here. If not,
It's going to be a really late night for you.
it's going to be a busy day. Yeah.
It's going to be a busy day. We have over about 18,000 ballots that they counted. It's going to be a busy day. It's going to be a long night. As you saw with the primary, how that you guys didn't get out of there until about 11 o'clock signing the boxes. So it's going to be that long again.
Bring in the cops.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And the coffee.
yeah, I'll try to make sure there's an extra pizza for you guys.
Can we get anything else? No, that's
All
fine.
right.
Just know that it's going to be a late night.
Yep.
That's the new Secretary of State, the way that you got to count ballots. And only certain people can put them in a box.
Well, that's intriguing.
Yeah.
So, I guess for the public's information, there's the 3 polling places like we had for the primary. If you didn't vote in the primary, and I'm sure there are plenty of people that didn't, at St. John Newman, at the middle school, and the upper elementary school. And you said this in your announcement, 7 to 7.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the times. So please adhere to that because it will be a very long day. And
Ooh. Sorry about that. I thought I had it turned off.
not sure if there's anything else we should mention as far as that goes. I've seen articles of people being afraid of retaliation or coercion or any of that kind of stuff. I've never seen anything of that nature in Merrimack and don't expect it at this
No.
election as well. So I encourage everybody to come out and vote. It's safe, it's secure, and we run a very good election here in the town of Merrimack. So please come on out, have a good time.
And if you're new to Merrimack and you don't know where you're supposed to be voting, you can go on the town clerk tax collector site on the website and find out where you're voting, or the Secretary of State's website, and it'll tell you what district you're in, and then you're telling you what polling place
Where
you're
your
in.
voting precinct.
Very good. Nancy.
Thanks. And people can register to vote that day with proper
Yes, they can.
documentation. Yeah, their license, proof of number of proofs. There was citizenship.
Yeah,
That's
Residency.
address.
So that's always. I just on the same subject. I just wanted to thank you to Diane Trippett and Lynn Christensen and other election officials for the informational presentation they did actually this morning. They held it publicly here at the town hall. Those in attendance were able to see ballot testing in process, how the machines work, and how the ballots are read. So it was the first time I'd ever seen it myself, and it was a great presentation. I know Merrimack TV was there as well, so thank you for that. And I too have great confidence in our election officials. The other thing that I wanted to say was thank you to Detective Bill Vanderslide, who coordinated Wednesday's successful Merrimack Senior Citizen Fair at the O'Leary Center. I had the opportunity to be there. There were a number of seniors that attended, along with a lot of agencies. I was able to be at a table providing some information about an upcoming event related to our veterans. And that's what I think I just start now. We'll do a couple more reminders before it happens. But the Merrimack Wreaths Across America Committee is hard at work preparing for the National Wreaths Across America Day on Saturday, December 17th. The event will be held at Last Rest Cemetery at 12 noon. The Merrimack community will once again be placing fresh wreaths on the graves of every veteran in Last Rest Cemetery. This year, the plan is to include every cemetery in Merrimack. So all veterans, deceased veterans in all of the cemeteries, we're looking to have a wreath sponsored for. So we're looking for 650 wreaths to be sponsored, and I think currently there are about 173 still that we need to match that goal. For anybody that's interested, the information, please go to Merrimack Wreaths Across America Facebook page, or go to wreathsacrossamerica.org and search Last Rest Cemetery. And Jen DeFelice is coordinating that again. I'm happy to be part of that committee. There's a number of community members involved. This year, the plan is also to have a little reception. Last year it was pretty wet and cold and rainy, but I think there's going to be a little reception. One of our local banks has decided to sponsor some refreshments afterwards, so I think details will be later, but it'll be a nice event. So looking forward to see people there, and hope that anybody interested will sign up to sponsor a wreath. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Barbara.
Yeah, I got my wreath. So, on another note, we're almost into November, and as a Rotarian, I'm just going to remind the runners that remember the Rotary Turkey Trot 5K is coming up on Thanksgiving Day, so go out there and get ready. And shortly after we get through with the turkey trot, the Christmas tree sales will start. So start thinking about how you're going to get your Christmas tree this year. And both raise money for the Rotary Club, which donates to many charities, not only in Merrimack and in New Hampshire, but around the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Anything further?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion by Lon, seconded by Barbara. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.